Episode 121. Are these comics going to make good film and television shows? We got Titans, and we got Sacrificers, and we have Void rivals from the Energon universe. Let's check them out right now. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Thank you so much for spending time with me as we rant about movies, comic books, and television shows, as well as the occasional board game. I am your host, Frank Zanca. I'm an award-winning screenwriter, novelist, and comic book writer, as well as an independent filmmaker. Getting some calls and stuff like that going on, so I'm hoping to land my next film soon. If not, hopefully maybe one of my own. Had a meeting with an investment group today. I forgot that I even had it. Oops. Luckily, I got back from my other meeting in Athens after looking at a studio out there, and I just happened to get back right in time. Wow. Anyway, I hopped on a Zoom meeting last, 10 minutes late. So let's see what happens with that. I got another meeting with them tomorrow, so let's see what happens. Never know. You just never know. All right, but if you want to check anything that I've written in the past, the description below has a link to my Amazon page, as well as a trailer for a pilot I did with directed by Tim Russ, who played Tuvok on Voyager, and it was Nichelle Nichols, who played the original Uhura on Star Trek. It was the last thing that she did before she passed. Anyway, check that out. It's called Renegades Amanara. Again, the description has the link in it. All right, so let's jump into Titans. This is by Tom Taylor. This is issue number 12. This continues the storyline because we forgot about the whole storyline about Wally going back in time to discover his own death. Just totally forgot about that. It just never happens anymore. And so now Raven is evil. She has captured her own good essence in the jewel that goes on her forehead. Now she has also captured her brother in another gem. So he's like a demon guy. And then in the last issue, we got introduced to this new character who was called Vardia or something to that effect. Anyway, she wanted to be a Titan so bad she wanted to get superpowers. They injected her with something that then destroyed her body. They put her essence or her personality into a robot, and they sent her out to kill the Titans because she was seeing the Titans as the bad guys, as robots themselves, as ordered by Waller. So that's where we kind of pick up. We pick up with Vardia there, however you say her name, doing, as a younger person, doing a text to the Titans Day. I guess you can text Titans on certain days of the year. And she's texting Donna Troy about sticking up for one of her classmates against a bully. So she keeps texting and nothing. There's no reply. And then suddenly there's a reply. And it says, oh my God, it's her. And we now pass to where now she's, of course, shaved on one side of her head, of course. That's like a trope at this point. Where she's actually choking Donna Troy. And we have this battle continuing, and she has all the powers of the Titans. So she's kind of like a Mazo for Titans, or Super Skrull with the Fantastic Four. And she's blasting her hand as if she is Cyborg. So we have Gar running away, and we basically have this whole thing. But now we have Cyborg that basically hacks into her and sees how she is seeing them. So now they know how to solve the problem. Now if he can hack into her, why can't he shut her down? Mystery. Well, that would have been the easiest thing if he could just shut her down, but apparently he could just see into her head. Meanwhile, even evil Raven here is chatting with herself because she ran through a portal to hide from the baddie, or in this case, the android that's not so bad, but is bad at this point, if that makes any sense. And her brother says, I don't want to be involved in anything you guys are talking about. So she says, I'm going to go back there and I'm going to take care of the android. So meanwhile, they're trying to hold her down so that Cyborg can launch his little things in there and really hack into her, which he does, and then he turns off the thing so that she sees them as they're supposed to be, and she kneels in front of Donna saying, oh, you know, you remember me? You probably don't. And Donna does remember the text, and at that exact moment, we have, well, now that it's already diffused, the situation is diffused, Raven now shows up and blasts her. So we get C-3PO from Empire, where she is blasted, or she's blasted into a million pieces. And I do like that Donna Troy's, like, her costume is underneath. You can see it ripped underneath there. So now she's just a head on the ground, and Donna picks her head up, and I guess she can still talk, or I guess her brain is still working, and says, did I save you? And Donna says, yes, we saved you. And then she's like, Raven, what the hell are you doing? Meanwhile, they track down the tech to Tio Maro's lab, and Donna is, of course, mad because she had this connection with the girl and realizes that the girl wasn't evil, and she goes off to beat the crap out of Morrow. So that's, I love that picture of Starfire there, like, looking threatening. I think that's pretty cool. So anyway, meanwhile, I guess Dick did not go with them, only because she had to stay behind and have this problem with Raven. There was no reason for him to stay behind, but I guess he did just purely so they could have this page. And Raven says, I could not see into your mind. How are you hiding yourself from me? So that's the story there. That she now knows, I think he now knows that she is evil, and he knows, or she realizes that he knows that because he partitioned his mind out so he could hide from her psychic attacks. So that's what's going on there, and yeah, I really like all this. I'm not too crazy about the whole Android offshoot here. It's not needed in the least. The story could work just as well without it. And but the rest of it, I do like when Raven turns evil. All right, so let's jump into Void Rivals. This is started out as the Enemy Mine thing. This is by Robert Kirkman, who also did The Walking Dead. This is a sci-fi piece that's hooked into the Energon universe. The Energon universe is the Transformers and G.I. Joe on top of Void Rivals. It started out with these two warring species that are on this ring. So they split the ring in half, and they each live on either side of it. So it's kind of like as big as a planet. And they are been on war for decades and decades. They get decades. They wear helmets, and they both send their best pilots, which happens to be the prince and princess of the warring factions, and they are shot down by each other as they're trying. I guess they're running out of water, and they tried to get a meteorite that they could have turned into water and melted down. So when they do that, they end up having to work together. They mingle two of their ships together to make a ship to get off the planet. And there they find a Transformer who's Jetfire, and he just takes off. Doesn't even try to help him. He's just like, I'm out, bye. But anyway, they mingle their ships together, and they take off their helmets to realize they're the same species. But one has a different gem on their head than the other. We have gems all over the place on foreheads on this particular thing. So Leela and Derek are the two names. So Leela decides that since they're going on the ship together, they have to go to one side or the other. She decides it's going to go to her side, and she backstabs him literally. And then he becomes a captive, and then she goes and tells her father that, yes, I saw him without his helmet, and I realized we're the same species, and he can't have that because it's a big secret. So he puts his own daughter in prison. They break out together with the help of this underground thing, and they escape into the wasteland in between the two parts of the ring. And there they run into another Transformer, and they send out an assassin who is like mostly a cyborg. So meanwhile, the king and the other king from both sides are conversing because they've been in cahoots the whole time. This war has purely been for circumstances to keep it going for whatever reason, but they're really not at war. Like the two kings just like talk like buddies. And so this whole thing is a ruse for which reasons we don't know yet. But anyway, he says, did you catch them? Is my son dead? I need to know. Because he basically put a hit on his own son, too. So one put a hit on his daughter, one put a hit on his son. And he realized that they escaped, and you see a little smirk there when the other guy hangs up on him. And then you have the assassin there, Proximus, fighting with, I think it's Wheeljack. I'm not a big Transformers guy, so I have no idea what Transformer that is. But that's the Transformer they met in the middle section there in the wasteland. So he turns himself into... he's having a problem fighting the little guy, by the way. He keeps saying, I keep underestimating you, little dude. He turns himself into a car and hits him with the car. Meanwhile, Derek finds this little green glowy thing on Solila, and she's wounded badly. She's got, like, her spear through her. And when he takes out, she, I guess, instinctively hits him. And he's like, oh, my God, you're alive. Thank you for kicking me in the face. So the battle continues between Proximus and I guess I'll call Wheeljack. And he finally stabs the guy with that big old sword right through his chest. Now, we find out later that he disappears right here. And I have no idea how that happens, but it's a lot of blood. I don't know how he would have got away. And he's like, well, I guess he won't get far, considering he only has one arm and one leg. But Derek's like, we need to help her. Zolila, she's getting worse. Can you help us? And they get into his vehicle, transformed vehicle, to go into the lab. And we get this cool little picture of the lab. And he takes the helmet off. He's like, is that an Energon entry point? And he's like, I don't know. It's a gem of some kind. He's like, I can work with this. And I guess he has Energon there that he's been creating. And then we have Solila. It's kind of like an out-of-body experience. And she's talking to this character named Zerda. And he's like, you got to find the key. And he's like, a key. And then he's like, why are you staring at me? When she finally opens up her eyes. And she's glowing from the Energon. So she's like, oh my God, what'd you do to me? And I love how Derek doesn't even flinch when she points the spear at his neck. He's so used to her threatening him that he doesn't even flinch anymore. And Wheeljack then says, yeah, this whole thing with the ring that we're on spins because it creates Energon for whatever reason. So again, we have more of a mystery of what's going on. And then he tells her a story about one of the first Cybertronians that have left Cybertron. And it was a woman named, or female Cybertronian named, he tells about the war also, named Zerda Trion. And she realized that's the name she just saw in her mind. And then we find and I'll tell you in a second what happens there, but we have them, the guy saying, we can't let them escape. We have to send out a whole shock troop regiment after them. And he's like, a whole regiment? And then those guys get their helmets back on and run out the door. So I guess she's fine now. And we see the whole regiment drive up on them. Because they're like, is it the assassin? Is he back? And oh no, it's far worse. It's far worse. So we're on 10 right now with no seams of it stopping. So I can see this going on for, probably 24 issues before he stops telling this story. And it just keeps going. And it doesn't really repeat itself at all. You would find that something like this might become repetitive, but it really doesn't. So I like what's going on here, and I think it would make I don't know how they could do it. They could probably do it with adding in, the occasional Transformer and stuff like that. Yeah, it probably could be done. I'd like to see it. So far, so good. I'm waiting to see where it goes. But, Robert Kirkman's always good at keeping his stories fresh, and I really appreciate that about him. All right, so let's jump into the sacrifices. This is number 9. This is by Rick Remender. So on this particular world, every family has to, every few years, has to sacrifice one of their children to the gods. And these gods are the gods of water and the gods of harvest, and the god of sun, or the sun god, and the moon god are like the two leaders, and they created a child together who has been in trouble. Of course, we haven't seen her in a couple of issues now, so we might be seeing her in the next issue. She fell off a cliff in the last issue, so we don't know if she's even alive or not at this point. But I assume she is because she's on the back cover. But anyways, one of the sacrifices escapes, and what they do is they extract the happy thoughts of these children from their mind, and then they turn it into an elixir, and then they feed that to the gods, which then keep them young. So they extracted the daughter, right? The guy, because he was pissed off at the father, so he extracted the daughter's thoughts or whatever else, and brain matter, whatever the hell it is, and ends up that the pigeon, who was one of the sacrifices, ended up drinking it and got her powers of a god. So that's where we're at now. And I think he's pretty much over it, and I think he's ready to go to war now. I do not like the fact that they stole Aquaman here, and they're literally using the riding on the seahorses thing. You don't need to steal that kind of shit, man. So anyway, we're into the god, almost like Poseidon, and that's the woman he's having an affair with. And I guess because Luna's pissed off that her daughter has disappeared, has now created tidal waves, and he's not in control of the tidal waves. She is, but it destroyed, whole cities, and he's getting blamed for it, even though he had nothing to do with it. But he is part of the whole sacrifice thing. So, his concubine there, or whoever he's having the affair with, is telling him to calm down. But there's a whole lot of commotion going on in the palace down the hallway. And he's like, what's going on now? And you just hear, chops and screams and stuff like that. And Pigeon is wearing a whole suit of armor, taking out his guards right and left with this big hatchet, which I think is kind of cool. It's kind of cool to see the little guy come back with these massive powers. And he's literally chopping people in half. And then this other guy comes and stabs him. And the knife literally, it just bends. And as he's killing the last guy, the god grabs him with a water tentacle and throws him across bookcases and says, "What are you doing? I'm going to kill you." Meanwhile, he was just crying in the last thing, and now he's, howling mad and becoming, this intimidating god. So literally the pigeon jumps up with the hatchet because naturally the thing has grown to immeasurable heights now, and he's treating him like a giant, and he literally draws blood out of the water. There's literally blood in the water at this point, but the god is still throwing him around, which I think is good. I think that if it was a god on god fight, it would be a lot of throwing around. So I kind of appreciate that it wasn't easy. And he's like, "No, I'm one of the sacrifices, and you sacrifice children." And he says, "Well, I didn't know that. I didn't know they were sacrificing children." I wouldn't know how he didn't know that, but he says he doesn't. So meanwhile, she comes in to find out what's going on, and at that moment, Pigeon destroys the pillar, and the whole thing crashes and kills his mate there. So he's like, "No, my love of my life!" And now he's really pissed off, and now he's drowning the pigeon. You kind of think that the pigeon's in trouble, but instead his eyes start to glow, and he pushes all of this god energy into his axe, and then swings the axe and ends up cutting the god's heart in half. And as he's dying, he's saying, "I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah." And the pigeon's like, "Yeah, you're just the beginning." So, yeah, we get some serious head choppings there. There's nothing left of the god at this point, and he's just walking out as, this tremendous amount of destruction is happening to the palace behind him, and he just walks into this portal and disappears. So, yeah. This one's on issue 9, and now that we are dealing with a revenge story, so where he's basically going to kill the gods, now I think we have a finite plot here. So if this thing goes over 12 or 15 issues, I'm going to be surprised. So far, yes, this has been very good. Will it make a good movie or television show? I think the only way they could do this is animated. That's it. But otherwise, kind of like we did with the World's Finest with the Imp story. But yeah, I like it. Void Rivals, yeah, really good. And Titans, yeah, Evil Raven, always good. So that's 3 up and 3 up, man. That's I liked all 3 of these. So yeah, I definitely recommend them. If you're not reading any of them, I suggest at least picking up the 2 Image books for sure if you're not a Titans fan. And yeah, those, and I think you can pick up trades on them now. I definitely recommend picking those 2 up, Void Rivals and Sacrificers. Really good stuff. Anyway, that's it from me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Remember that the description below has link to my books in them if you'd like to pick up any of my sci-fi books or my fantasy or my comic books. They're all on Amazon. And then Destiny Aurora is on Audible as well. That's the first Destiny Aurora book. All right, I will see you guys on the next episode. Thank you again so much for watching. Give me that thumbs up. Give me that like. And give me that bell ring ding ding so you can get subscribed to the channel and find out when I do additional movie reviews and things to that effect. I am going to see Horizon this weekend. And remember to check out some of my other videos that will pop up at the end here as well. See you all soon, and I'll see you on the next episode. Bye-bye.